Welcome back to the Mom Curious podcast. This is Daniella Rabbani, and I am here with our very first male guest. His name is Peter Mutabazi. He's an entrepreneur, an international advocate for children. He's the author of Now I Am Known. I found Peter on Instagram, where he chronicles his life as a foster parent and adoptive parent. And I have to tell you, Peter, I'm so moved by your story and by your sharing. It's funny, like, I didn't think I would only have women on the podcast, but I sort of like, the idea of motherhood is this one thing, and I try to offer all the options, and it turns out 2 years in, there are lots of options and different ways of living. And I've looked for a long time for a foster parent who could speak openly and with respect, of course, but openly about their experience. And that's actually how I found you. And I am just so grateful for how you educate on the topic of fosterhood and how you advocate for children. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you for taking the time to be here.
Well, thank you, Danielle, for having me here. Last weekend I was invited to speak at the MOPS, so it's Moms of Pre-Ks, and I was like, wait, I am a male, but it was really nice, and that's kind of what we're trying. I love what you're saying. There are different ways of how moms can be moms and share experience, and I love that. And men, I think sometimes we're excluded, and that gives us kind of the right to just kind of not to be even interested. So for me, being a foster dad and a single dad, I really understand what you're saying.
Yeah. I think, I have a working theory around how men would probably like to be included in this conversation of parenthood, but we've been sort of socialized out of that. I think you somehow stepped outside of that paradigm and decided to be a father. Actually, I'd love to hear that story about how you decided to be a father, but you decided to sort of invest in that side of yourself, which is in and of itself a sort of renegade act. I think a lot of men have this in them. My own husband actually is a beautiful father and a very sweet, loving person. So I think like the idea of like whatever masculinity or this idea of being a man in the world, like, can sometimes not include this really important part of being the patriarch, the leader of your family. And I would love to know, how did you decide to be a dad? Like, what was that decision like for you?
Well, I'd like to give you a little bit backstory,
Please.
Yes. So I come from Uganda, and I come from a world where life was miserable in every shape form you could imagine. No one told me to dream. No one told me that there was a future for me. On a day, I had one meal a day. I didn't have a name until when I turned 2. And the reason was, for every 100 children were born in my village, 60 would die before the age of 2. So most moms didn't name their kids until 2. So at 2, she named me a gift given to me by God. That's what it means. But also I saw the struggle of my mother, on how my father was just so abusive in every shape form you could imagine, towards me and my siblings, but also my mom most of the time. And so I really grew up with guilt that my needs put my mom in danger. And you didn't, if you're hungry, you didn't want to say, because if you say, she's going to tell dad, hey, can you feed the kids? And she's going to get the beating. And the guilt of my needs are going to put her in danger. I just didn't know how to stop it. And so I ran away at the age of 10 and became a street kid, where life again was miserable. And I lived in a sewer, and I was treated more like less of a human being, like a stray animal. That's how I was treated in every way, shape, form. So for me, I really had no hope, until a stranger saw me. I was trying to steal from him, and he said, "Hey, what's your name?" For the very first time, someone asked me what my name was. And so he took me in and changed my life. And changing my life wasn't based on how good I was. Changing my life was based that he saw potential in myself that I never saw within myself either. When you're street living in the garbage and being treated like a garbage boy, you smell like one, you act like one, but there's really no hope. So for him to see me at my lowest and see the best, it really inspired me to say, if I ever get somewhere, I would like to do that for others.
Wow.
But but Danielle, I've traveled over the world, but I'd never seen a black person who was adapting in Uganda or in Ethiopia or anywhere. They were always, white married Caucasians who were
Wow.
Europeans or Americans. So I thought, well, maybe since I don't see anyone who looks like me, maybe that's just for only people who look a certain way.
Yeah.
So I kind of gave up on that. While in Ethiopia, I asked the lady, I said, hey, if I wanted to adapt, is that possible? They say, she said, no, you have to be female or you have to be married and you have to
Oh
be
my
from
God.
America. So I was like, okay,
Oh,
not for me. So then I got to know about Foursquare. Remember, I had the lie in my head that, well, you have to be a certain way to be a dad. So for me, I walked into the Foursquare system and said, hey, would you allow me to be mentor to teenagers, at least once a week? So the social worker who received me said, hey, have you ever thought of being a foster? I was like, yes, I think about it, but I'm not qualified. She said, why? I said, I'm single. She's like, no, 30% of foster moms are single women. So you can be. And literally that day, it was on Monday, I signed up. I started the classes being licensed on Thursday. And since then, I've had 36 children. I've adopted 3, and it's really been a joy. But again, I saw how my mother was treated, and I saw how my dad had a right to do whatever he wanted just because he was a male,
yeah.
and that really bothered me. And I wanted to change that. Like, I wanted to be a dad to show, one, my father, that there's other way you can be tender and kind
Mm.
to other kids.
Mm.
But also the family that took me in, I spent more time with his wife. He really showed me how to nurture and how to be kind. And that really inspired me to want to do that for others. And that's why I became a foster dad.
Peter, this is a movie. We need to make this movie. Do we not need to make this movie? I need to make this movie.
You need to make this movie,
I
yes.
mean, it's so beautiful. Interestingly, by the way, um, my mom was born in Haifa in Israel, and they didn't think she was going to live. And similar to how they didn't name you because they didn't think most kids don't live, they they waited 2 days to get her birth certificate. It was in a
Hmm.
different building, and to this day, her birth certificate says that she's born on December 10th when she was really born on December 8th.
Wow.
It's funny because like we think about these sort of ways of being, not naming your child until you're 2 years old, not getting the birth certificate because you're like, oh, it- they're not going to make it. They don't count. It's like we think about it like, oh, it must have happened a long time ago, but like this
No,
is happening right now. This is actually happening right now.
absolutely.
It's happening
Yeah,
right now as we speak.
right.
I don't know what it's like in Uganda anymore, but
It's getting better for
it's getting
sure.
better.
Yeah, it's gonna be. But it's not because she didn't love me. She
Of
just wanted to be
course.
sure. She just wanted to be sure.
Of course. And like it's
Yeah.
the same thing with like, we don't tell people we're pregnant until 3 months in, not because we don't love this potential or whatever, but like if we don't know, we don't want to get everyone's hopes up and we don't want to make it right. So that lasted 2 whole years
Correct.
until you were Peter.
Right.
And I just like that scene of the man asking you your name. It's so biblical.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know that scene from the Bible where I think it's like Jacob or something where he's asked his name and
Right.
to be asked your name is to be asked your soul.
Right.
Wow.
It's I have kids when I'm in the airport and hear someone say, "Hey, call Brent." I'm like, "Oh, wait, that's my children," but they're not I mean, I know they're not at the airport, but the name attached to my children will always sound alarms, no matter where I am. It's who
Wow.
they are. It's what makes them, and yes, there's so much meaning about names than anything else.
They say that when a parent names their child, they actually have prophecy.
Yes. The biblical way. I mean, Joseph was called Joseph. Why? Isaac was called Isaac. Why? His mom laughed. So it has a meaning that always reminded you. Moses was called Moses out of the ribs because he was picked out of the ribs. So
Mm.
it's amazing how the biblical names have a meaning that are the same as Africans. We are always called by what conditions in which you were born.
So beautiful. Oh my goodness. And so you've really emulated this man who took you on as a sort of mentee. Like he saved you in a way.
Correct, because he put me in a boarding school and then later he made me part of his family, you know? So for me, I think he showed me what a father looks like. He showed me kindness. He showed me how to love someone with so little or with bare. I didn't have any manners, anything at all, but how he loved me despite of where I
Wow.
come from, despite of my problems. And so for me, once I really, so I went to high school in Uganda. I went to university in Uganda. I went to university in England. And that's how I came to the United States. So to see how far I have gone, that I wanted to pay it forward by how he taught me how to live my life, how to see the best in others, no
Wow.
matter what,
Wow.
always the best.
It's funny because I was going to ask, I knew this about you just based on what you share on social media. And I knew that you wrote a book, by the way, because your son, your adopted son, who's a teenager now, got on social media on your stories, I think it was,
Right.
and said, like, guys, I want to tell you about my dad's book. It's his birthday and he doesn't really celebrate that much, but I want to celebrate him. And I was so moved that he loves you so much, like a teenage boy. Who does that? Like, what teenage kid does that for their dad? Like, just celebrates you this way. Your bond is so, so beautiful. But
Right.
it's really special. And I was thinking, like, how do you parent when you didn't really have parents? I mean, I know your mother tried her absolute best. I know, and I
Correct.
know that you loved her so much, and that's part of the reason why you ran away.
Right.
But it's such a beautiful reminder that we are healable, that we are lovable.
Right. But also that our past does not define us. Like my past doesn't define what my future should be, but rather it should be a foundation to help me do better for others. And that's what really helps me be a good parent or a parent with kids from hard places. Because I know when I went to bed hungry, how did I feel?
Right.
How did I feel? When people abuse me in every way, shape, form, how did I retaliate or how did I feel when all those were happening? When you're feeling unwanted, like what emotional really de-steer you from,
Yes.
So for me, I get to really revisit my childhood when I see that in my kids, when I hear them, sometimes they are putting holes in my wall to know like, hey, this kid is angry not towards me, but something is tearing up, and my job is to make sure that I'm comfortable, but also I'm making them feel safe to be able to feel what they are feeling. Like it's valid first.
Yes.
And rather than putting myself, sometimes they are using the bad language, but I know they are not hating me. I know. But for me in those moments to love them more, to say, my child needs me the most, but also there's something going on deep beyond what he's showing me that I need to pay attention to. So, and that was my nature. That was my life. And that really helps me to not focus on what we see, the
Right.
outside,
Yeah.
but to really focus on what's causing this has really helped me be the best parents I can be. Remember, for kids from hard places.
Right. So this is your calling. This is your real um specialty almost, right? It's not just any kid, but the kid from hard places. You
Correct.
really can see them.
Yes,
You can know them.
I can know them. When my kid is stealing, is he stealing because he wants to steal? No. But when you've gone to bed hungry most of your life, it's hard to know there's food there. So for me to approach that as say, how do I make sure his brain knows food is going to be there? It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. When kids get angry and they're showing us signs of something else to know, hey, they miss mom, or they feel really, really emotionally in a bad place. For me to remember, how did I feel when I was in those places, and be able to be there for my kids and validate what they're feeling rather than accuse them. At school, when they flip and throw the decks left and right, well, is it really? Well, when you visit your mom and dad for a full month and they have not shown up every time you visit,
Yeah.
yes, the frustration on those feelings that you can't really tell, but when they snap, they come out in a different way. For me to be able to sit with the teacher and say, I know to you it looks really bad, but here's what caused it. Here's
Yeah.
where my child was coming from. And then we get to teach them and parent them with empathy.
Peter, I'm so grateful that you're here because we have had some one foster parent and one adoptive parent who shared so honestly that it was almost too hard for them. And I think this approach for people who are interested in fostering, and there are many people who
Mm-hmm.
are interested in fostering. I actually know that even my producer was saying, "Oh, that maybe fostering is in my future." And you allow us a way to understand how it's possible. It's possible when you have this heads up, and I think you did have the heads up because you lived it.
Mm-hmm.
This understanding that when a person is under extreme duress and a traumatic situation, I don't think anyone comes into the foster care system having not been traumatized in
Everyone.
some way.
Yeah, every child has been, and what we trigger them is sometimes it's what we do that trigger them. I'll give you an example. The other day, my daughter, she was brushing her hair. So I took, lotion and conditioner and I did the same for her to make it easy. But once I left and I came back, I found the brush I was using was in the trash. So well, I can say, well, how could she be ungrateful? How could she treat me that way? But look, I triggered a memory that mom used to do for her. So in those moments, the brush and throwing it away was the best way to say, Mom, I miss you, and I'm so angry that I can't have those moments with you. Was I the problem? No. Did I
Mm.
did I trigger? Absolutely. I triggered a memory that truly put her in a wrong place. Was it bad? Absolutely no. She had the right to feel that. So for me to love her in those moments and not to really take that personal is the best way I could be there for her. And that was really amazing that she said, "Yeah, I miss mom."
Oh, so you ended up saying it out loud. You didn't just
Yes.
understand and walk away.
No.
Is that an important element to say, "Hey, I noticed that the brush was in the garbage. Is it because you miss mom?"
No, I think for me, I knew why. So I just said, "It's okay. I know you miss mom." And she's like,
Um,
"Yes, yes, I miss mom.
wow. I really appreciate that too because it's not just that you knew it yourself and walked away. It's that you told her so
Correct.
that she could metabolize that.
Absolutely. And also know that that feeling is real by not making it a negative, but a positive.
Right. And it is a positive. It's a normal thing. It's an
Yes.
understood to be a loving person is a beautiful thing.
For a 7-year-old to feel that way.
Yeah.
Yes.
How many kids are in your care right now?
7.
Oh my God. How do you handle all of it?
I don't know. Remember you said, I love what you said. You said, Peter, it's your calling. Like, it's really my calling. Like, I know how to, I have from the age of, 2 to 19, they all come with different needs and which has really been helpful. They go to school at a different time. They go to bed at a different time.
Mhm.
They have different needs. I'm not having 7 kids that need homework at the same time or need to
Totally,
go to
totally.
bed at the same time. The age gap has helped me be able to be there for them at a different time. My teen comes at 2:30. I get to hang out with them before my other, elementary school come at 4:30. So you prioritize and find ways on really how to be there for each one of them. And they are uniquely different, uniquely traumatized in different way that you get to learn each and love them and parent them the best way you can.
Who was your first foster child? Like, what was that experience like here in the United States?
Yes, my first child was the hardest I've ever encountered, Well, it was a 5-year-old. He comes in, at midnight. And of course, you always go back to everything they've trained you. I thought maybe I have to keep the knives away. I have to keep all the chemicals away. I have to lock the door so he's not a runaway. Like you just go over and over, and the following morning he woke up, he's like, "Hey, Dad, what's for breakfast?" I'm like, "Wait, what?" I didn't sleep worried about you, and all you're asking is breakfast. And then I go to really know him. Then I go to know the trauma. Our kids tend to really show you trauma when they're comfortable, when they feel comfortable. And the things he would cry for 3 hours nonstop, you know. His anger was hurt himself, so he would hit his forehead on the wall or through glasses if he was just really mad. So you can imagine, you just learn to be a foster parent, and that's the child you have. Like literally, think about, you know,
It didn't scare you away somehow, though.
no, again, I remember. I remember my life. I remember what it was for me. It's the scary moment the first time I arrived on the streets of Kampala. I know what that meant. So knowing he was five and knowing his background really helped me to have empathy for him.
Right.
And I can honestly say, maybe he's the only child up, not like I don't love my kids, but it was so difficult that he's the one I feel I love the most
Oh,
because he
there's nothing like
was
the first. No, but I don't love my son more than my daughter, by the way. I
right,
do not.
right,
I
right.
really, I can tell you empirically, I don't love him more. But there is nothing like the first.
Yes. He was five. But then once 8 months later, once he went back to his grandparents, and he was really, instead of crying 3 hours, he was crying for 20 minutes, or 10
Oh,
minutes.
because he wanted to be with family.
Exactly. Oh, because so I realized that if I can be a dad to this difficult kid for 8 months and survive, come on, what else can I not do? And that's what it's been. Yes, they've been difficult, but that one set the stage,
Hmm.
for me to feel like I got this. I think I can do this.
Is there ever a time when fostering is not difficult? I mean, I
Uh,
know that it's fulfilling, by the way, and I know that you've adopted three children, and I those
Correct.
bonds are
Absolutely.
forever, literally
Yes.
forever. But is it ever not difficult?
It is always there. And I've had 36 children. So for the last 5 years, I've had 30, and they're difficult in different ways. Yes, they have trauma, but it's not something they have to portray every day. But today you might be dealing with a little one, but the next day you're dealing with a teenager. The next day you're dealing. Oh, there's a perpetual things they do that you have to really help them through.
Hmm.
Hey, I'll give you an example. Some kids hoard a food and they'll put it in their bedroom and hide it under the pillow. So you can imagine, you want to help the kid understand like, hey, food is not gonna run away, but also at the same time, like it brings any animal in the house, the smell.
Yeah.
So it's not an issue you work on one day and then you're like, oh, it's done. No, it's a constant learning. With time that you get there, but it's a journey. It's not a sprint. It's a life journey along the way. And that for me has helped me, and it's difficult too. Like sometimes it's like what's that rat that runs around
The like hamster wheel.
hamster wheel. Like sometimes as a foster parent, that's what I feel like. I'm in a hamster wheel. You help this one, and then the other one comes, and the other ish comes, and it's like on and on.
That may be parenting in general,
I think so. Yeah.
and not even trauma. I mean, I don't know. I mean, kind of.
Kind of.
I
Yeah.
mean, maybe.
Hmm. Yes.
When you have children of all different ages, do the older ones help with the little ones? Is that part of the? Is it nice
No.
that they have each other? No.
No. No. No, no. So here's the thing: the ground is they all understand where they come from because they're all foster kids who have lost mom and dad or mom, whatever. But the teens, I have teenagers. I feel like my little ones are like allergic to them. But I hear it's every teenager doesn't like the other one. Don't touch me. Don't see me. Don't touch my things. Don't
Mm,
come to my room.
mhm.
But too, remember, as foster parents, we have kids from trauma, so we have to be extra protective. That we don't want to give a child from a trauma hard place to be responsible for another child.
Uh-huh.
Make sense?
Thank you for that. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
so we
understand.
we can't really do what normal, other foster parents, other biological parents can do because for us, we have no back history, but also we have to only at all times protect every child in your home. So
Yes.
we don't give them responsibilities, but just
But
to keep it safe.
But it's nice to have siblings, I'm assuming, like a house full
Correct.
of kids and they when they hang out. I'm not saying that one needs to give the other a bath or something, but they can hang out and have
Oh, absolutely. They
yeah.
play together. Like I always take siblings as well. So even siblings the same age, it's fun, that is not an entertainer. They entertain themselves.
Mhm. Mhm.
They
Totally.
do fun things. They do, and my teens too. Sometimes they feel important when they're able to do something for my kids, like fix their car or turn on the TV where they're having difficulty, where they feel they're the solution to my kids. They,
Yeah.
they, they love that because it gives them a sense of, oh, you know, I didn't know I can offer something to someone, but it starts at home that it becomes natural when they're outside our home.
Amazing. So if people are listening and they are interested in fostering, maybe we can walk them through the process. Like, how do you even get started?
Yes. Here's the process. So, first of all, you have to have two things: you care and love children. Like you have a love for kids, and you care for them deeply. That's number one, because you have to have that empathy in order to take on someone as a child. Then number two is you have to have space. Space of where can I take one? Can I take two? Where do I live? It doesn't matter if you rent or you own. It's always okay. The other part, the very important one, is revisit your own childhood, how you were parented first. Learn about the traumas you've gone through. Learn about how your mom and dad parented you. Because when you don't, we get to mirror. You had 30 years of training from your own parents that you're going to bring it to your kids. So learn about yourself. What things can I do and what things are impossible for me to do? Then if you learn those, then you get to know, hey, here's where I need to adjust my life because this is how I've always thought, because parenting kids in foster care, you have to parent them out of the box. Because remember, they are traumatized. So you're parenting a child that is not normally like anyone else. So you have to come out with also the same attitude. The other is you have to be humble to know that, hey, I'm going to help this kid, but they might think I'm the worst human being every day. And I'm okay with that, because there's no child that wakes up in the morning and say, today, can you take me to Mr. Peter's because I feel like I want to live there? No, they are forced to come. No one tells them, and they miss their mom and they're confused. And all those, you tend to be the punching bag of all that, know? So to be aware, to know, hey, I'm going to get the kid, but I might get the grief out of it. And I think that really helps you because then you get to love these kids as who they are, not what you assume they should be, and as I said, humble, appreciate, and also know that you're not doing them a favor because they would have preferred to be with their parents,
Every child, huh?
Exactly, because they were forced to come to your house. So knowing that, it really helps you on how you can learn about trauma. And that's my number one. Learn about trauma. Learn about it. And that helps you on how to really take care of someone who is doing it. And then the other part is, visit a mom or visit someone who's a foster parent. Don't jump in right away. Get to know someone who's doing it, on a daily basis and say, how is it for you? Take them a meal, meet these kids, offer something, coffee, that it gives you a little proximity to see, volunteer at an agency or anything that deals with foster care. And I think that really gives you the smell, the depth of how much you can go. And then that it will help you really set your goal on how you're going to approach foster care. You might say, I can only take toddlers, oh, I might just deal with teenagers. Oh, I'm just open as anything comes, I'll take. Also our kids come through different levels. Level 1, level 2, level 1 sometimes are those who really need therapeutic homes, So there are so many ways you can come in as a foster parent, but you have to know what you're capable of taking or parenting, and also how much you can do based on your own upbringing.
Thank you so much for that. I'm wondering, and this might be totally off, but do you believe that people can be untraumatized? Is that something that you've experienced that they can?
Correct. I
Because
mean, that's me.
I was just gonna say, Peter. I mean, like I have the chills, like total chills. Like I'm looking at you and I'm like, this is a person living in his purpose. He's healed. He's happy. He's full of light and understanding for other people. You don't feel like you're traumatized anymore.
No, absolutely. No, absolutely. We can overcome what the struggles we went through, and it takes healing. But also is the difference. There are some things that don't go away, but I'm able to control them because I know them. So I'll give you an example. I like to be honest. Trust. Remember, my father I couldn't trust him. The things I had to go through. And as a street kid, you couldn't trust any human being of how you're abused as a street kid. Does that mean I overcame that? No. But here's how I deal with it. When that comes, I'm able to think through it in the shortest moment, to not put myself in that place, to say, this person cares. They are not my abusers. They are not my father. So you think about it in the shortest time. That's the control that I have. It doesn't go away. I just have to think about through it and say, Peter, you're safe. It's okay. The same with my kids. That's what I want to do. if they're worried about food and they hold and keep it, but to be able to say when that moment comes, like, oh no, food is gonna run away, to say, no, it's gonna be there. Is it going away? No, but it's the amount of time that we take to limit on how far that trauma is gonna take us. Makes sense?
Yes, it totally makes sense.
The reminders are there. We just learn how to control them and shorten the time we are in those places.
How did you learn about trauma outside of your own healing? Like, what did you take any courses? Is that part of the training for fostering?
No, so for me, the family that took me in, they were at the opposite of where I came from. I mean, first of all, they would sit at the table and eat food. For me, I had never seen that. So for me, it was a fear that if I go sit at the table, the father is going to beat them up, and I don't want to be part of that. So in some way, I would stay away. But with time, I got to know, like, wait a minute, this guy is not going to do it. So then I had to learn, how do I make my brain to make sure that I'm not worried that he's going to do it, to feel content and when I sit on that table and feel safe. So there are things, hurdles I had to learn to overcome my way that helped me master trauma. Doesn't make sense?
Yeah, it does. I mean, you learned it somatically, like experientially.
Experience,
you learned
yes.
it in your own body. It's not like you took a course. I mean, maybe you did take a course.
Well, in some way, it's like I took a course by someone living that life in the opposite way helped me to see what, like, hey, he's people who trust people. He's where they live. This is what you do,
Wow.
So they were able to show me the example. I never had a kind word from anyone, especially my father. So to hear them say, Peter, you're special, you're chosen, you're a gift, you're mad. I mean, all those helped me overcome the bad by hearing the good. Does this make sense?
It really does. And you
It's-
are so special.
Thank you, Dan.
It is true.
Right. So you see how they helped me by the worst, they helped me the good, and that helped me to see the best in myself. And that's why I excelled in school, because I believed them. Like, if they believe I'm that good, I should get an A in every test,
Wow.
And I convinced myself. So for me, the trauma is, I think I mastered it by learning how to overcome my own way. And here's the thing, Danielle, that I would like to share with you and your viewers as well. Our past will always get in the way, For me, I figured that I don't want to let my past define or take away my future. So I worked so hard to make sure that it didn't intervene, or it didn't stop me, or it didn't get in the way. And that's what helped me understand what I was fighting against. And that helped me to excel or do better because I understood myself.
Yeah, it's so beautiful. So now we know the questions to ask before people decide to foster, right? Where do you even go?
Well, so one is you go in your community. Yeah, in your community, find out who are the foster parents. Look for foster agencies that support families. Say, hey, I would like to give dinner to someone. Where do I go? Some of you follow me. I'll go through and help you understand. Yeah. Hey, here are ways you can learn. Here are ways you can prepare yourself. I've written a book on lessons I've learned. It's already 10 not 10 pages, but 10 topics of how to prepare. If you have your friends, make sure you're gonna lose them, and it's okay to lose them because you're gonna be a parent. You can't tell everything to your family because they love you and they're gonna protect you, and they're going to have ill feelings to your children and get in the way. So you have to watch what you say to protect your children and yourself to your family. So those are things that I've written, lesson I've learned that you can just go back and read and say, okay, that makes sense.
Thank you for that resource. Do you have a community of foster parents that you hang out with, that you can take notes from? Is that part of your life?
Yes.
Oh, good.
But also as a foster parent, our kids have trauma, but also we are licensed. So it's not like I can just call someone and, hey, have my kids. But knowing other foster parents, it helps me be in a safe place with people that understand my world, my journey, and that's my community.
How do you take care of yourself throughout all of this?
Oh
Like,
yes. How do
I,
I take it myself?
for
That,
everybody here, by the way, who's only listening and isn't watching, Peter's eyes got wider than ever. Like we've been hanging out for 35 minutes. I haven't seen that reaction yet. How do you take care of yourself, my friend?
because it's easy. We tell moms you need to take care of. You're like, okay, what time when they go to bed, or what?
Yeah, like
What time
when
was
you go to bed, I'm in the middle of cooking and
Right.
cleaning and working.
Right. So here's where I've come in when it comes to moms listening. For me as a male, I've come already strongly gone to other females say, please, I need you. Like with humility, like, hey, if you make good meal for the kids, teach me how I can.
Oh
Teach me
wow.
how I can. You know, also sometimes, it's easy when you moms, someone is expecting that you give them meal to say, I am not expecting, but when I get a kid, it's the same way. Would you be there for me and give me a train of meals?
Beautiful.
So really, in some way, really kind of coming into the community that I wasn't always in to say, see me as a mom or the same needs as you need. That would help me.
Yeah.
The other part is, it's easy to always want to have a good picture to know, hey, laundry will always be there. I don't really have to stress about laundry, but to go for a run, take my dogs for a walk,
Yeah.
for a coffee, and that's
Peter, I
okay.
can't believe you have dogs. I saw in a video that you have dogs, and I was like, how does Peter have dogs right now? Like, what is going on? But actually, dogs are very healing, aren't they?
Right. They are therapeutic to my kids
They
as well.
are really.
Yes.
Wow. But they're a lot of work.
Yes. A lot of work.
But you do go for the run and you do go for the walk and you do
You go
try and
for the
make time.
walk. Absolutely. And also, put time to myself to say every Monday, I will not do laundry. I will not do what my kids require. It's me. It's for me.
Good.
And that has helped me to truly know what makes me tick, what helps me when I need a little refuel, or even call a friend and say, can you just vent about anything so I can listen to another adult talking?
Ah. Oh my God, that's so key, by the way. You're just like, I just need like an
Yes.
adult voice in my head. Love the kids, love them. Everyone knows this.
Yes.
But like, can I just like be,
An
you know,
adult
an
for a
adult?
moment.
Yeah. But so you say that you have to be all right with losing friends, but you still have friends, don't you?
Right, but you'll be willing to lose friends that there's some people who love you, but they don't like forescare, or they won't want to deal with the kids' behaviors you have. Are they really friends? Yes, they're friends maybe for just someday.
Right.
But it's to say, hey, it's okay for me to let them go, to let them go. Like you get to that point, you say, my kids' needs and my kids are gonna be my number one priority. That you're willing to let go of some things in your life. You call me Peter, you say, hey Peter, there's a party at 7. Would you like to come? I'll be like, 7? Okay. Does that include children or just me? I'm a single parent. I can't leave,
Yeah.
but to know that, hey, I would like to go, but hey, that's not my moment. Party with my kids.
Yeah. How did you start sharing on social media and why?
And why? So when I was going through classes, I was the only male. So everyone was like, so when is your wife coming? I'm like, no, I'm here by myself.
Oh,
So from
Peter,
the
I'm
get,
so sorry. I feel like it's like reverse sexism, or I guess it's
correct.
just straight up
It is.
sexism. I'm
I'm so
really
like,
sorry about that. I'm
you
on
hear what?
behalf of all the women who never asked you where your wife is and whatever else. Like, I mean, ugh.
Right.
Sorry.
I know. But also most of my kids are Caucasian. So the question people ask, like everywhere we go, they're like, could you prove you're the parent of these
Ugh,
kids? I've been called by the police 7 times because 9 times because someone reported like, hey, there's a black man with white kids and things that just don't look right.
right.
So I think I wanted to change the narrative of what foster is because we've all had the negative that I wanted to make it positive.
You really
And
did. You
and also
did.
show men like, hey man, it is no mom's role to be tender and care for the kids. It's every parent, not
Right.
just one. Like
Yeah.
we are all
Yeah.
responsible. But also I come from Africa where I think in our minds we've been taught white people come and do good, but we on the receiving end.
Oh, wow.
The colonial mentality.
Yeah.
So I wanted to change the narrative like, hey, we take care of the loved ones. And for me, having kids who don't look like me, I wanted to change the narrative of what they think of black dads. Sometimes we're not seen as good dads. That I wanted to show we are good dads. Empathy. I'm not into protest, but if I can live a life of protest, is all I needed. if I can have empathy towards my kids, I hope someone else can do the same towards me,
Yes. Yes.
And that social media was for me to show people that, hey, we can do it. And a way to generate people, to show the good part that not necessarily sometimes they get to see. And if I could show it from a dad point of view, then maybe that would inspire, and truly that has inspired so many people to think about adoption, especially single men and single women,
Oh, you
who,
think it's really there's a community of single men and single women who reach out to you and are like, "You've
yes,
totally inspired me."
yeah, like
Oh,
now I'm a foster dad, or I'm going through classes,
oh, so
and for
happy.
me and for me that is all that really matters in some way. And the society has told us, hey, get married and have children. I'm like, wait a minute, but what if we did the other way around? What if we
Yes.
can be mom and dad,
Yeah.
and then along the way we meet someone who cares? But while I'm waiting, I could do something.
Yeah, you can help.
You can have. I have had 36 children. None of them has ever said, Peter, I wish we had a mom. None. You know why? Because they never had a dad before.
Right. Right.
So having a dad is cool and nice and just what they liked for. So for me to be waiting there, say, until I get married, no, then I'll, no, that
Mm.
while I'm waiting, if I can do this for someone who needs it, would be the greatest gift I can give. And that's what I chose to do.
But it also sounds like it's a gift for your own self.
Oh, yes.
Like it feels like a way of reparenting yourself in a way and also making sense of your life. Like, why did I have to go through all that? Well, to be this
This is why.
person, to be
Yep.
this spokesperson, to be this man for these children. And for, by
Yes.
the way, I mean, hundreds of thousands of people follow you. And by the way, your videos are delightful. Um, I did notice that you have to put on sunglasses for the kids. Is that
Yes.
you
It's
think?
to keep their privacy.
I mean, I think that's a good idea in general, probably. But that like a legal stipulation
A requirement by the state to cover their privacy.
to cover their privacy. But I guess they're allowed to be, in the videos and having a good time. They seem
Right.
like
So, and oh, by the way, I have great news. I adopted my two one on
what?
Monday.
What?
Yes, on
What?
Friday.
The
Yeah.
baby? The toddler?
No, the two, the
The
boy and a girl.
Oh my God, congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Dad! Oh my God.
Yes, I am thrilled.
Are
Yes, I
you
got to
really?
adopt.
Wow. This is your second and third?
Yes, my second and third.
I
And their
was
siblings.
wondering because
Yeah.
I only knew about the son who had popped on your stories and told us all about your book and your birthday, and I knew that story. That, by the way, for everyone listening, it's a beautiful story of Peter's first adoption. And so when you mentioned that three, I was just like, huh, when did I miss this? Because it just happened.
Yes, just have it
Congratulations.
on Friday. Yes.
Wow. So what happens between fostering to adopting? What's that big switch for you?
So when you foster, the whole goal for fostering is to make sure the children are reunified. That the whole goal is mom and dad take care of themselves and the kids go back. But sometimes they are not able to take care of themselves. So for me, I've had these for 3 years. So we moved from reunification and then we moved to, okay, now adoption by the kinship, meaning a relative would come and adopt them, but no one can. And for me, I signed up that I'll be your foster parent, but if you have nowhere else to go, I'm committed to be your dad for the rest of your life.
Wow.
So once that opportunity came, I was like, absolutely, I would like to
Wow.
adopt them. And so I just adopted them. And it's funny to see, two white kids say, what's your name? My name is Isabella Mutabazi. And I'm like, wow, that is something.
It's so beautiful. Do you ever foster black kids or any people of the global majority, or is it just white children?
No, I do. Like right now, I have two black kids from Senegal.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yeah, I have
Yeah.
to. So for me, I signed up to be anytime there's an emergency that I'll take the kids. And usually foster care is you just don't know. Some have taken them because they were just for the weekend and they never left.
Oh. Oh.
Or some they came for 1 month and it's 3 years down the road. So to me, I took in to take care of whoever needed help. And I'm open to whoever God gives me is who I take in. So it's really been a joy. I've had 11 African American kids,
Okay.
2 Native Americans, and then 2 African kids from Africa as well.
I only asked because I know that I guess it's only ever an issue when they're white.
Oh yeah.
Other people make it an issue when they're white. What a
Yes.
shame, because what you're doing is really beautiful and inspiring. And I
Thank you,
can't
Danielle.
wait to see this movie.
Send me people, send me
Oh
people
my
about the movie.
gosh. I
Yes.
mean, we need we need to make this book a movie. Don't you think,
Yes.
friends?
I think so. Like, I want to take my kids to Africa. So it's like, wouldn't it be that cool to have two kids from America going to see their grandparents they've never met
Yes.
before? I think that would be like a cool movie.
That would be a cool movie too. All right, so here's the first step. Here we go. I think
Hmm?
also I we're just putting it out there. You're magic, Peter.
Then
You have
I
that.
like you. I like you. You inspire me to do so much than
I
I thought I could ever do.
Well, you're a storyteller. I mean, you're a lot of things, but you're also a storyteller and a real motivation for people. I wonder,
Thank
did
you.
we miss anything when it comes to like the foster care experience in case someone is interested, by the way? We talked about questions, we talked about where to go, and how to make community. We talked about
Right.
your experience, but is there anything that we
Yeah.
missed?
There's one thing we miss. No, most people we make the bio parents villains, but they are not villains. Like I ask the people to have grace and kindness towards their bio parents, not to judge them or think they are the most horrible. Yes, there are some who are really horrible, but there are some that really lack the resource and their kids ended up in a false care. And it's easy for us to judge the moms, but we never ask the question, but where are the dads? And I feel here that I want people to not judge mother, because that's how people would say when I was on the streets. They would say, what a mother would let their kids be on the streets. But my mom was getting the worst abuse from my dad.
Yeah,
She did all she could. The
yeah.
same here in the United States. I'm the most educated. I have every resource. I know what to do. But there are some people, moms, who have absolutely no resource, and somehow their kids end up in a foster care. Not because they don't love them, but just they were never given the same as I was given. And we should stop judging them, but rather have kindness towards them always, always, always.
Amen, amen, amen. Peter Mutabazi, where can we find you? Learn more, read your book. Tell us.
Yeah, you can find my book anywhere in any bookstore. Now I'm known. You can buy it even from me. Also on my social media, Foresight Flipper, or you can go on our website, nowimknownfoundation.org. We help teens have room makeovers so they can have a safe and loving home.
Amazing. Absolutely incredible. Thank you so much for being here. And thank you, friends. This is Daniella Rabbani. You can find me at Daniella Rabbani on Instagram, where we can have a longer conversation about this really important topic. Go ahead and follow Peter, and I'll see you next week. Thank
Thank you.
you. Thank you, as always, for listening to the Mom Curious podcast. My name is Daniella Rabbani. I am your host, and I would love to continue this conversation at Daniella Rabbani on Instagram. And if you'd be so kind to rate and review, share this podcast, I would be just really grateful. Catch you next time, every Tuesday on the Mom Curious podcast, produced by Hoff Studios. You can find them at Hoff Studios on Instagram as well. All right, have a great day.